Season of the Wish came out yesterday, and I played through the first story on stream. And I've played a little bit, I played a little bit more today for recording background footage. And um, overall, my impressions were actually somewhat. It's okay. It's definitely not as like, oh my goodness, this is really good, the way that Season of the Witch was coming out. I think that it has potential. Now, for those of you who like are into leaks, right? I know some leaks about like the season, but nothing story-wise. Okay, so like when I say like, oh, there's a lot of potential between Aldrin, or sorry, Crow and the Queen and whatever. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think there is potential for the story to actually be good. But that being said, the story overall has been very much overshadowed, in my opinion, by the fact that we do know what's going to happen. And this has always been the case with fourth seasons. Season of Arrivals, we knew the planets were going to go bye-bye. And Season of the Lost, we knew Savathûn was going to get the light. And Season of the Seraph, we knew that Neomuna was going to happen, I guess. But I think it's a little bit different because, how do I say this? Season of Arrivals, the pyramids were here, and we were getting hyped up for an alleged pyramid ship expansion. And so even though we already knew that we were like gonna lose the planets, if I remember correctly, each weekly story mission wasn't about like trying to stop the planets from getting taken, because we knew that was going to happen anyway. It was mainly about learning more about the pyramids, right? And the cradle, and it was actually really interesting. And then also you had the interference from Savathûn and Nokris speaking. So it was still really interesting. Season of the Lost, we already knew that Savathûn was going to get the light, but at the same time, we were rescuing the Techians, and we were reclaiming the ley lines, which was really valuable for the Dream City. And of course, there was always like the chance that something with Xivu would happen, or something with the curse would happen. It was still very much, I guess, captivating. In Season of the Seraph, I'm going to be honest with you, as much as people liked Season of the Seraph, story-wise, the season was a dud. The only thing interesting about Season of the Seraph for me was Clovis, and I think he's a really interesting character. But the actual story was kind of eh, and the only thing that was kind of interesting apart from Clovis was the ambiguity about what was going to happen, because all we knew was that Neomuna was going to happen, but we didn't actually know how we were going to get there or how we were going to figure it out. And even that was kind of underwhelming when you think about it, but we still didn't know how we would figure things out. The main thing with Seraph was really just the gameplay for me, and the really big boy mission with the exotic at the end. With this, it's really unfortunate because we know that we're going to get into the Traveler, right? And yet it seems like the whole season is going to be, oh, you need to go get all my eggs, or else I'm not going to let you get into the Traveler. You gotta go get the eggs, or else I'm not gonna let... Bro, I know I'm going into the Traveler. Do you think I care about your eggs? I already know. Like, I know. Like, this is just busy work, okay? And I think that this is really going to overshadow the story as a whole. I think anything juicy with Mara and Crow, or anything like the stuff between Crow and Osiris, anything that has nothing to do with Riven or the Wish and the Traveler, right? That is actually going to be interesting, and I think that's going to be what people gravitate more towards. But I think overall, the general story regarding the Wish and the Traveler, it's already done. It's already done. Okay? We already know the Wish, who made it, what the combination is. We literally made it. Like, we made the wish in the wall, and now it's just the filler. Now it's the excuses. Now it's the padding to make it all drawn out. And I think people are really going to feel it. I think they're really going to feel it. But anyway, apart from all of that, initial impressions were, you know, somewhat okay. From a story perspective, it was okay. I think it has potential. We'll have to see. But that being said, I do want to talk about the main focus of today's discussion, which is I do think that Bungie has messed up the lore. And, oh, sorry. Let me just check swing. And what I'm actually going to do is really quickly, I'm actually going to check my comments. And I'm going to see if anybody disagrees with me about that video. Because people actually disagreed with me about the 9, me calling them out. And they were like, they can't interact with you know, physical stuff that much. So, you know, I don't know why you're mad at them. And that would be true, except there are kind of instances where they have. So it's a bit more messy, but I'm actually curious, has anybody... Are people saying that I'm being unreasonable? Let's put it like that. Okay. We're getting out of the Light and Darkness saga with this one. Okay. Right. Nobody's commented on that yet. So I don't know if people are going to think that I was unreasonable or if I'm making good points. But in my opinion, I do think that Bungie is kind of messing up Riven's story. And when I say that I think they're messing up her story, I think that they're kind of breaking the Ahamkara lore as a whole. And maybe I'm missing something. And I said that in my video. Maybe there's a workaround, or I don't fully understand. But like I actually, like, when I was writing the script, I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna make sure. And I looked some stuff up. I asked some questions on Google, and then found, you know, Reddit or other place where people talked about the exact question, like from 5 years ago, and then we're like giving lore references and everything. And I personally think that I'm pretty much spot on in what I'm gonna say. So, in my predictions video, by the way, I actually got some stuff right about that, which is pretty cool. But in my predictions video, we didn't know if Riven was going to be a thing at all, right? I think a lot of people, myself included, were thinking that this egg was going to hatch or something. And that would be the Ahamkara. But in my predictions video, I said very clearly, Riven should be a valid Ahamkara to be in the season. Screw it. Why not have 2 Ahamkara in the season? And the reason why was very, very, very simple. It was basically planned that she would come back. This was all part of the plan. In Last Wish, you don't just kill her. You kill her, and then you go inside and you take her heart. Now, let's be honest. The heart was taken too, and so maybe like we needed to get the heart, because the heart was going to kill us, right? I don't know how, but it was. So we took the heart from Riven's body to the Techians, and they purified it. But they didn't just purify it, they specifically said, like, Riven, architect of this city, return to us for the sake of plans to come. And I know I keep saying that over and over and over again, for the sake of plans to come, for the sake of plans to come. It's the description of the video, probably the description of the stream or something like that, I don't know. But you don't just put lines like that in the game and then you don't do anything with them. You just don't do that. And here's the issue. In case somebody says, well, you know, this way that they've done it, it still fits that plan that they're talking about. By them purifying Riven's heart, they are saying that she has returned to them. And she does, because then she talks to us. And she says that we're inseparable now. We have an age-old bond. So she's back. She's basically been purified, and yes, she's not an actual dragon now, but she's alive. Because again, and I'll get into this, the Ahamkara live on in their bones. And the way that they've done it now is that, first of all, they just let Riven's body just lie there for 5 years. There's no chance that they ever would do that. I'm going to call Bungie out on that. There is no chance that the Awoken were going to let Riven's body just lie there for 5 years, bro. First of all, you're telling me that they don't decay, right? Imagine the smell from there. Oh, boy. Second of all, you're really not concerned that some Bingus is going to go over there and, you know, chip away at her tooth and then make a wish? Or, like, clip her nail and make a wish from that? Really? Really? I said this in my video. Excuse me. I said this in my video that when Ikora and Eris killed the Ahamkara during the Great Hunt, they made sure... I didn't say this in the video, but they literally, like... I know Ikora did, summoned a lightning storm of light to destroy all the bones. And the bones were whispering as they did it. I'm not saying that they should have destroyed her body. They just move it. Move it. Cut it up into bajillion pieces and then move it. Like, I'm not, like, let's be realistic about it. So I'm calling them out for that. That's really, really silly in my opinion. But then, to get Riven back, we have to take out her tooth? Now, in my opinion, the only reason this tooth is in the game at all, as a plot point, is just so they could make it into the artifact. That's it. That's it. That's the only reason. And there's not even just one tooth. It's like 2 teeth. 3 teeth. We bring the tooth back. And by the way, can I just say, I was very surprised to hear that the Vex were involved this season. And it kind of makes sense that they're involved. It's the Black Garden Vex, the Soul Divisive, the guys, the Leafy Boys, and presumably the Witnesses getting them to try and interfere with us. But, yeah, that was kind of, I mean, oh, okay, wasn't expecting that. But, we bring the tooth back. And to get Riven back, the Techeuns have to strain their magic just to, like, maintain a connection with her. And she's like a ghost now. And she's dead. She's like, I am dead. I am good for one last wish. Do you think this has anything to do with what the Techeuns were saying when they purified her heart? And then Riven was talking to us? I really think that this is a continuity error. I think Bungie straight up either forgot or retconned that story. Now listen, Bungie can retcon whatever they want. It's their story. But I happen to care about that story. And I don't like it when things happen to the story that seem to not really respect it. I'll put it like that. So that's the one error in the lore, right? The heart has been completely forgotten about. No mention of it whatsoever. This is the heart. And I don't know. I guess it just doesn't suit the narrative now. I don't know how, but... And, yeah, that's really the big thing. And it annoys me when they do this. They did this with the Taken Egg with Mara. So back in Season of the Lost, when you were in, like, the hub area where Savathun was imprisoned, or encased, whatever, there actually was a taken Ahamkara egg there. Nothing ever happened with that. We have no idea what happened. So anyway, long story short, Riven's story from a continuity standpoint, in my opinion, has been very severely compromised. Okay? And, listen, is it the end of the world? No, it's not. But in my opinion, like, this is a really basic thing. Riven doesn't have much of a story. The last time Riven was relevant was literally the end of Last Wish Raid. So you would think that when they were making the story, they would go back to that, and they would see that dialogue. So either they literally forgot about the heart, or they chose to ignore it and retcon it. Either way, it's still really weird. It's really, really weird. And then we come to the second part. And this affects the Ahamkara as a whole. Riven is dead. But she isn't dead. She lives on in her bones. And literally, like, I can think of so many examples from Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 where the bones themselves are really, really relevant. So anyway, this picture here, right, this is Hugin. Or Munin, sorry, there's two of them, Hugin and Munin. Yeah, like, literally, ignores you. This thing knows that you're there. It's alive, right? These are in the Dreaming City. I show it in my video. And, yeah, you can literally make bargains with them. And the thing is, even if you want to be really technical and like, well, Riven just can't do any more wishes. But these aren't wishes. It doesn't matter. They're still interacting. I don't need to have 5 Techians to strain the limits of their magic to be able to communicate with this creature. I could break off this little chunk here and probably still have this prompt come up. And that's the key thing with the Ahamkara. So I'm going to give you some examples now where this is the case, right? Really easy example from Destiny 1 was, of course, this here. And I wanted to make sure. Like, I was like, yeah, like, Eris's rock is an Ahamkara bone, right? Like, I know that, but, like, it's been a while since I checked. I'll just double check it. Literally, you just Google it, people are like, oh my goodness, this lore confirms that it's an Ahamkara rock. Or Ahamkara bone. And then, sure enough, the key to how she got this was because of the Ahamkara bone. And, yeah, like, in my opinion, even though in the lore, the written lore, it doesn't specifically use the word wish, I do think there was a bit of a bargain. It was more of a, like, an emotional, like a feeling kind of bargain where she's holding this bone in one hand, she's stuck in the Hellmouth, her ghost is dead because it's been drained of its light by Crota's eyes or whatever the things were, and she's holding the bone in one hand, her dead ghost in the other, and she really wants to get out. And she's holding on to these two things tightly. And the lore specifically states that that's her, like, last trick up her sleeve. So she wasn't just, like, holding onto the bone, you know, for what... She took the bone out and was holding these two objects with intention. And then, sure enough, boom. Okay? That's one example. Another example, and I can't, like, really bring it up. I didn't... There's, like, no picture for it, but... I think it's Lavinia, or whatever her name was. The Cryptarch who was, like, obsessed with the Nine, and who interrogated Xur. She really... So this is from Season of the Drifter, Forsaken era. She was a Cryptarch who really wanted to know about the Nine. And so she, like, went through all the records, and interrogated Xur, which is really funny. And... in the end, she literally got caught, I think, trying to, like, smuggle. Either she got caught with the bone, or she got caught trying to smuggle the bone into the city or out of it. I can't remember. But either way, she, you know, kind of got expelled. And, yeah, like, just the bones are very much seen as important objects. If the bones weren't able to grant wishes, if the bones weren't, like, if the Ahamkara weren't alive in the bones, there wouldn't be this fear around them, right? And yet, and yet Riven is dead. And she's good for one last wish. And the only reason she's able to communicate at all, is because of Techian magic. That's it. It breaks the Ahamkara lore. So that's the second part of it, which is that, yeah, so Riven's continuity has been compromised with the heart completely out of the picture now. And second of all, the whole ghost Riven, I'm dead, I'm only good for one last wish, it's also kind of breaking the Ahamkara lore, in my opinion. Final point. Or second final point. The narrative surrounding her eggs is very much not the direction that I wanted it to go. It feels like they made this up last minute, it doesn't feel natural, and it doesn't feel like this was planned. And I literally, I know if a Bungie writer is ever gonna watch this, he or she is gonna be like, bro, give me a break. You don't know how hard my job is. Dude, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bully. I'm just saying, like, I have to say it how it is, okay? I have to say it how it is. I'm saying it with all compassion and respect, but it is what it is. And, yeah, so, like, Riven saying, oh, I refuse to grant this wish. Well, first of all, let's talk about a few workarounds here. First of all, it's not our wish. It's Savathun. Why don't we just resurrect Savathun? Well, she is resurrected. We resurrected her at the... Isn't that interesting, guys? We resurrected Savathun at the end of last season. She's alive, and there's no mention about her. Okay, cool. We should have just brought her to Riven and made her be like, listen, I made the wish. This is my wish. Do it. There's a good chance Riven would have been like, okay, cool, fine. Second, Riven's like, you have to collect all my eggs or else I will not let you go into the Traveler. Somebody said this on Reddit, and I completely agree with them. Do you know what I would have been like? I would have been like this. Either you let me into the Traveler right now, or I will spend every single day that I am not in the Traveler searching for your eggs. And every day that you do not let me go into the Traveler and you do not fulfill my wish, I will destroy your eggs. I will destroy all of them. And if that means I don't get to go into the Traveler, doesn't matter. If you're not letting me go in anyway, then who cares? We both lose. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. Just be like, do you know what? If, like, you let me into the Traveler right now, and then when I come back, I will go and get your eggs. Think about it. No, just think about it. We go into the Traveler. We stop the Witness. We have time to go look for the eggs. Sure. Of course. Also, why does it have to be us? No, I want you to actually think about it. They have the whole system figured out. We went to the lair the first time. We assumed the whole clutch would be there. They weren't. Literally 15 minutes later, They literally figure out the exact system of how these eggs are orbiting around in the ley lines, and we can predict when each one is going to be in perfect position. Okay, cool. You know exactly where they are. You know where they're going to be at what time. Why send us? Do you know what you do? Fine. Second option, or third option. You let us into the Traveler now. And while we're there, we will send people, and they will get the thing. They will get the eggs. Of course. Of course. And then she's like, no, I want you. Okay, fine. We go back to option number 2. I will go look for your eggs, and I will smash them. So, like, I'm not trying to be cheeky about it, but this excuse for the padding is very, very, very weak. It's very weak. It does not hold up. And so, yeah, it kind of makes the whole thing not enjoyable. And that is why I said in the beginning, the story has potential to be good. But this overbearing sense of, oh, this is just a chore and busy work because we already know what's going to happen, I think it's really going to ruin a lot of it. So anything that's not related to this, which is like, you know, Mara and Aldrin or Crow, and then Osiris or Drifter or anything else, that's going to be interesting. But this just feels like filler. And my final point, which, I mean, I don't know if I really have to explain it anymore, is why are they doing this? It's because this system of the seasonal storytelling. Which is that they have a concept, and so they stretch it out. So this was a perfect disaster. And I'm actually done showing pictures now, so I'm going to just go back to the other thing. This season is a perfect disaster, and I think it's like the tragic end of the seasonal model. Because starting off, the way the seasonal stories work is that they will create a concept. And so, let's take Season of the Haunted. Okay? What is the concept of Season of the Haunted? It is us on the Leviathan looking for Callus. What is point A? Us getting onto the Leviathan and beginning to look. And I know people are, oh, but the nightmares and the... That's the therapy stuff. It doesn't matter at all. Do you think anybody remembers what Zavala's son's name was? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Point A is us going onto the Leviathan and looking for Callus. Okay. What is point B? Point B is Callus getting to the witness and escaping us. Okay, cool. So they have this concept, point A and point B. They now need to stretch that over the course of how many weeks that the story goes on for. Okay, cool. So, that is the first part. So, with this season, the concept is point A, we have Savathun's 15th wish, and we're going to try and use that. And then point B is we successfully get into the Traveler. Okay. Now this is where it all falls down. First of all, because it's the 4th season, we already knew what the ending was going to be. Okay? When we were on the Leviathan in Season of the Haunted, I mean, like... No, Lightfall hadn't even been revealed yet. Lightfall was revealed with Plunder, so yeah, we didn't even know that Callus was really gonna do anything with the witness or whatever. Maybe we would stop him, maybe we wouldn't, you know. With this, we just know, right? So, point A and B is gone. We know point B from day one. We knew point B from before day one. The second disaster, and the second reason why it's a disaster, is because They have point A and they have point B. What did I say? They need to figure out a way to make it stretch, point A getting to point B, make that stretch however many weeks they need, however many weeks the story will go on for. The second problem is that how do I say this? The second problem was that this concept of using the wish, there is no process. I said this before in a previous stream. It would have been better if the first half of the season was spent trying to decrypt what the code for the wish was from Savathun's wings. When you have the wish, that's it. I even said it would have been better if, for whatever reason, okay, you have the wish, but the wall doesn't work. And they could have done that, because every single wish you make, if I remember correctly, is technically while Riven is alive. They could have made it where, due to her no longer being directly connected to the wall, or maybe due to the curse. Sorry, the curse, that was it. The curse basically, every wish that you make, is technically before the curse happens. So maybe when the curse happens, it disrupts the connection to the wall or something, you know? So then the season is spent, okay, we have the wish, but we can't put it into the wall. The issue is that they didn't do any of this, and so that means that literally to go from point A to B, the whole story, there's no searching through the Leviathan and trying to find, it's literally go somewhere safe, put in the code, and get your result. So there's actually no reason why point A to B isn't one day. So and here's the other thing you need to remember. You need to remember this. Bungie chose this story. This was not set in stone. Riven coming back might have been, but all of this, they chose this. So they've actually put themselves in this hole. So the first problem was that we already knew what the ending was going to be. Takes the anticipation out of it. The second problem is that the whole process of going from point A to B literally takes normally like 30 seconds. And so they're screwed. They now they have to make, so now they don't just have to make it stretch out. They have to start jumping through hula hoops to make that work. And then you have your third disaster, the third reason. The excuse doesn't work. And I've already explained why. It's very flimsy and it falls apart quickly. And people know that. And it's going to feel like busy work because it is. It really is. I want you to think about this. The witness is inside the Traveler. We should have lost already, but it is what it is. And we're collecting Ahamkara eggs. That's the third reason. People don't like that. It's bad, right? It is bad, okay? It's really chore filled and painful and all of that. Okay. That's the third problem. And then we have the fourth problem. Yes, there is a fourth problem. It's drip fed. And so you cannot make any real progress because it's an obligation and it's mandatory that they stop you. And you have to wait exactly a week. And so, we put it like this. Let's just say you're a player and you are thinking about this. The season comes out and then you play the first mission. And now you know what the concept and the overall journey of the season is going to be, most likely. You already know how the season's going to end. You already know what's going to happen. You're annoyed because really you had the wish and it should have just taken you 30 seconds, But this excuse really clearly is an excuse for padding, and you can tell that they just needed to stretch things out. At the same time, the padding doesn't even have any real interest or enjoyment to it. There's no journey. It's just you doing somebody else's chores. And at the same time, it's very flimsy, and there are ways that you could have gotten around that. And finally, you can't even do it at your own pace. The world is kind of broken in the sense that if it was us, we would be literally doing it as fast as possible. And yet, we are told, okay, just wait. Just wait. And then we'll come back to you. Just wait. And you know what the worst part is? The worst part is that the season story ends before... And actually, this is the 5th disaster. This is the 5th disaster. The seasonal story always ends pretty much before the season does. Sure, maybe they'll like save one last cutscene for the very end, but there's like several weeks in between that. That's even worse for this, because the ending of this season is us going into the Traveler. And so what's theoretically going to happen is that we are going to get all of her eggs, or this story will be concluded before the season is done. And so we will end up getting the wish from her, and then we'll just have to sit. So let me put it like this. Not only did we lose in Lightfall, and the Witness got inside the Traveler, and we're expected to believe that the Witness couldn't get what it wanted in 1.5 years of being there. But once we finally did get what we needed, because the season ends normally, even if you don't accept what I'm saying about the season story ending before the season does, the season's still going to end in February, and Final Shape comes out in June. Which means at best, you're talking about like 4 months of you having the ability to go inside the Traveler, and you can't. I didn't even think about this stuff when I was preparing to do this stream. This wasn't even in my mind. But when you really break it down, this was the perfect storm. This story shows every single flaw in the seasonal model. And the beautiful irony is that Bungie did choose it. So not only is this a story that is going to feel like filler, not only is this a story that shows all of the flaws of the seasonal model, but in the process of them having to come up with this, they also compromised the narrative, I guess, integrity of Riven, and they also borderline broke the lore of the Ahamkara. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? So that's my thoughts on that. That's why all of this happened, and that's the perfect storm of the... honestly, I could have made this its own video, guys. But maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say about Bungie with Riven and Ahamkara and this seasonal story. And like, listen, I'm not excited for this season. I was until I played it yesterday. It has potential. I am open to being pleasantly surprised. We will see. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So with all that being said, GG.